Okay, this is lesson number 9, combining our exponent laws. So we took a look at our exponent laws last week, and when we are multiplying, we add exponents. So if we've got, here's our multiplying, if we've got coefficients, we multiply the coefficients. So numbers in front will get multiplied. So 3 and 5 become a 15. So 3 and 5 become 15. So far, Laura and Janet have it correct. Harry doesn't have it correct. He's added them. Now what we have to do to the exponents, it's the same variable. So on the variables, we're going to take a look and we're going to add the exponents. So 2 plus 3 gives us 5. So Laura is the only one that got it correct. So I'm going to take my 2 and my 3 and I need to add them. Okay, so your base is your variable. The digits are your coefficients. Okay, so you're going to multiply your 3 and your 5 and add the x's. Add your exponents on the x. We're going to do the same thing. Let's take a look what happens here. It says use factors to explain why this is the way. So it says 6a to the 6. So this is what we've got on top. We've got 6a's. 1, 2, 3. There's 6 of them, all divided by 3 and 2 a's. And it wants to know how do we or prove that we get an answer of 2a exponent 4. Well, we take our coefficients. The coefficients we divide. Divided and got a 2. That is correct so far. With the a's, what you're doing is you are canceling them. When I say cancel, that means they have the identical thing on top and bottom. What that means is I've got a 1 subtract 1. And 1 subtract 1 is 0. So that would give me a to the 0, which gets replaced by 1. So anytime you've got a number on top of itself or a variable on top of itself, it gets replaced by the digit 1. So that means these guys, it's all good. So we cross out an A, so those two are going to give us a 1. We cross out those A's, they're going to give us a 1. Okay, so now I've got 2 times 1 times 1, well, which is just 2. And now I got to write down what's left over. And what's left over is A to the 4. I've got 4 of them. They've got hidden 1s on them. So I've got A to the 4. All right, we're going to solve, meaning simplify the next few. So when I'm simplifying them, let me know if I'm going too fast. When I simplify them again, the first thing we deal with, the numbers in front, coefficients first. Then we take a look at the variables. We match them. They have to be the same letter. If they're not the same letter, they don't match, and you just leave the variables the same. If they match, you're either going to add them or subtract them according to whether you're multiplying or dividing. This guy's multiplying, so we're going to add the exponents. And we've got a 4 and a 2 out front, so we are going to multiply those and give us an 8x exponent 8. So the 2 and the 4 give us an 8, and the x's add to give us 8. So the 2 and the 4 gave us our 8. On the next one, we've got a 7 and a 6, but it's a negative 7. Doesn't change anything, it just makes our answer negative. So we're going to have negative 42. We have the letter A. When brackets are sitting side by side, they mean multiply. So if I'm multiplying, I'm adding the exponents on my variable, which means I'm going to get A 20. So negative 42, A to the 20. The fraction line means dividing. So if I'm dividing here, I'm actually dividing coefficients, and then I am subtracting their exponents. So dividing coefficients, I'm going to end up with a 4. Subtract my variables, I'm going to end up with y 15. So 4y exponent 15. The next one, 30 divided by 45. If you do that in your calculator, it's going to give you a decimal. It's going to give you 0.6 repeating. So 30 divide 45 is giving me 0.6 repeating. So that means I'm going to turn that into a fraction. So you're going to hit math, enter, enter. Okay, so you're going to go 30 divide 45 equals, and then math, enter, enter. It's going to give you a lowest term fraction. That's going to give you 2 over 3. So you have 2 over 3. You only have one variable, it's the letter B, and you're dividing, so you're going to subtract those exponents. So you're going to get B4. So that can be written as 2/3 sitting beside B4, or 2B4 over 3. Okay, both are correct. The next one, they've got multiples sitting side by side. So I've got a hidden 1 in front of that guy. So I'm going to multiply my coefficients. So again, those are the numbers in front. 3, my 1, and my 6. So 3 times 1 times 6 is going to give me 18. I've got the letter A for a variable. We're multiplying, so I'm going to add the exponents. 4 plus 5 plus 3, that's going to give me 12. So 18A exponent 12. Letter F, we're dividing, so we're going to divide the coefficients, but subtract my exponents. Now don't forget, put in your hiding ones. I've got a hiding 1 on that n on the end there. So when I divide my coefficients, I'm going to end up with positive 8, because I end up with 2 negatives dividing to give me a positive. And then I have n exponent 4, because you've got 5 subtract 1. So 5 subtracting 1 right here. You're subtracting those. Okay? All right, moving up. Now we're adding more letters. We're making things a little bit more complicated. All it does is you have to match them up. Okay? All it is matching. So once you match them up, then you decide whether or not you're adding or subtracting. If you're multiplying, you're going to add exponents. Dividing, subtract exponents. So these guys are sitting all side by side, so that means they're multiplying. So I've got the variable x and the variable y. Same as over here, I've got the variable x and the variable y. Over here, I've got the variables b and the variables c. Over here, I've got e and I've got f. All right, I've written all my variables. Now I'm going to take a look at the exponents on my first one. I have to match the x's together. So we're going to match these letter x's, and then you're going to match the letter y. So we're going to have x to the exponent 8 and y exponent 12. So you have to add the ones together that are the same. So same letter, add their exponents. Now we're dividing in b. So since we're dividing, we're going to subtract their exponents. They're written up and down vertically. So 5 subtracting 3 gives us 2 x's left over, and 8 subtracting 4 gives us 4 left over. So here we're going to subtract exponents. Over here, we added exponents. All right, on example C, they're all sitting side by side. So that means they're all multiplying. If they're all multiplying, you multiply the coefficients as well. I only have one coefficient here and one here. They're both negative. So 2 negatives will give me a positive answer. 3 times 4 times 1, there's a hidden 1 there, gives me a positive 12. So my coefficient is a 12. Now I got to add up all my B's and all my C's. So we have to put the hidden 1s in there. There's lots of hidden 1s. So this B has 1, the C has 1, and over here the C has 1. So if I add my B's, I've got 1 and 3 make 4, and 2 more make 6. So we're adding our B's. 1 and 3 make 4, and 2 more make 6. Letter C, we're going to do the same thing. Add your C's. So I've got 1 and 2 make 3, and add 1 more makes 4. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're adding all the letters that match. Letter D, we're dividing. So since we're dividing, 10 divided by 4 is going to give you a decimal. So you're going to have to math frac. Okay, that's a math frac. Hopefully you know what I mean by when I say math frac. Math frac just means hit your math button and then enter 2 times. Math, enter, enter. That's what math frac means. So when you do that, you're going to get 5 over 2. So my coefficient is 5 over 2. My letter E's, I need to subtract them. 8 subtract 4 gives me 4 left over. And letter F, 12 subtract 7 gives me a 5F left over. Okay? So, that froze on you there. Okay, turning our page, we have combining the exponent laws. So we're going to take a look at when we have an exponent outside of brackets. There's 2 ways to look at this question. You can look at it as a repeated multiplication question. This 3 means I have 3 sets of them. So this is telling me, as soon as it'll show up here, whoa, that really, let's unzoom some of that. There we go. So this guy right here, that's telling me I have 3 sets of that bracket. So if you needed to, you could write out 3x2, 3x2, 3x2. That's what it actually means, okay? So if you want, you can write it out, that's fine. But you could do it the simplified way. The simplified, quicker way is to put your hiding ones on. There's a hiding 1 on your front digit. So always remember your coefficients have a hiding 1 on them. Now you're going to take that outside exponent and he's going to multiply in. So now he's going to multiply that 1 and the 2. So it means I'm going to have 3 exponent 3. And if you look up here, I've got 3 3s. So that's correct. And then I'm going to have x exponent 6. And if you look up top, if I add all my x's, I have 2 plus 2 plus 2. That's going to give me 6. Okay? So there's 2 ways to do the question. Now, if it wants me to fully simplify it, when there are digits, you have to solve the digits. So I need to solve this part. You need to solve the digits. So 3 cubed is going to give me 27x exponent 6. That would be your final answer. The next question. This is telling me I've got 2 negatives. That's 2 negative 2's. Well, what's a negative times a negative? A positive. So my answer is going to be positive, which means I don't got to mess with the negative signs at all. So I have 2 times 2, which is giving me 4. I have an A and a B. Now I need to know how many A's and B's I've got. Well, that means multiply them in. Okay. So this guy gave me negative 2 squared. I'm just showing you that's how I got my 4. And then 2 times 2 is 4 on the A. 2 times 3 is 6 on B. So that's where you get your numbers from. So the negative 2 has a hidden 1 on it. I did give it a 2, but that means it becomes this. Okay, that's my coefficient. It becomes that, which is my positive 4. All right, the next one. If I've got the same letter and it's on top and on the bottom, simplify the top, simplify the bottom, then subtract their exponents. So on top, side by side means I'm going to add them. And on the bottom, same thing. I'm going to add them. So this is going to give me x exponent 8 on top of x exponent 3. Now our last step is to subtract them. So now I'm going to take those 2 and subtract. So my final answer is x to the 5. I should box my answers so you know which is the final answer. All right, now I've got a fraction, and it's a negative fraction in brackets. That's a 2 over 1. So each, the 2 and the A has a hidden 1 on them. That negative sign is always going to float to the top. So it's floating to that number 2. So the negative sign is going to get the 2. So it's going to look like this. Negative 2 cubed a cubed on top of y exponent 9. Why do I have a 9 on the bottom? Where did I get a 9? Right, 3 times 3. Good job. Just making sure you're paying attention. Good job. Who knows? You still might be sleeping from the weekend, right? So the 9 comes from 3 times 3. And same thing, that 3 is multiplying to the 1s on the 2 and that a. So now, which part can I solve, or is he done? I can solve the 2. He's a digit. So I have to make sure I solve this part right there. Negative 2 cubed is going to give you a negative 8. So this guy is going to show up like this. Negative 8a 3 over y 9. All right. Now we're going to take a look at multiples. Now we're just adding extra, little difficulty layers. So if you notice on A, all I did was add a negative sign. So now we've got negatives. And then this one here, put a big fat dot there for multiplying. That X is not an X, it's a multiply sign. A lot of people get confused with that. That was a multiply sign. Okay, outside exponent, he's going to multiply in. Well, that means this guy here is telling me I have, what's 5 times 2? 10. Well, that's telling me I have 10 negatives. So this guy here is negative 1 times, what's 10 negatives going to give you? A positive answer. So times n to the 10, and that now multiplies to give you negative n to the 10, because that 1 can hide. So that's what you're going to end up with. Okay. Hang on. 5 negatives. That tells me I have 5 negatives. Hang on, guys. This is going to be a negative, because I have 5 negatives, not 10 negatives to begin with. Because 5 times 2, 10, but it's going to remove the bracket. That's a negative, which makes this guy positive. And I'll show you why. It's because of this. Negative n squared, negative n squared, negative n squared. You have 5 of them. Negative n squared. So if I write that out 5 times, which I did, how many negative signs do you have? 5. So this guy gives you 5 negatives. So since you have 5 negatives, that makes this guy a negative n. So this guy here is going to be negative n to the 10. Negative n to the 10. Which makes our answer positive, because you get a negative times a negative. Okay, does everybody see where you get that 5 negatives from? Okay, so be careful, because it caught me there. So be careful with those. If you have to, write it out so you know how many negatives there are. Okay. All right. I'm going to erase that. Here we go. Let's look at B. All right. Letter B. There's no negatives, so we don't have to worry about any of that. All we have to do is put the hidden ones. So we have to put hidden ones. Where's my hidden ones going to go? On all the digits. Okay, so hidden ones go on my digits. A 4, a 3, and a 6. So it says I've got 4 sets of that whole big bracket. So I'm going to multiply that outside 4 into all of them. So the outside 4, but hang on, wait a minute. Hush, stop. If it is, if you can simplify in the brackets, we're still doing BEDMAS. If we can simplify in the brackets, we have to do that first. So on here, we have to simplify our brackets before we multiply this guy in. So that means if I've got x's on top, I can deal with it. I don't, but that means, but I've got digits. So I'm going to simplify my top by multiplying my digits. So I'm going to get 12x6y3 over 6x5 all to the 4. Can I simplify my bracket more? What do you see inside that bracket that I can get rid of and simplify? The x's can simplify. And what about my digits? Right, the 12 divides by 6, right? So there's two things I need to simplify. I need to simplify those, and I need to simplify those. Then I can deal with putting the outside one in. You always have to simplify your bracket inside first. So this is going to give me 2. That's my 12 and my 6. X exponent 1, because 6 subtract 5. Y to the 3. Now exponent 4. So now I can put a hidden 1 on my 2. So my 2 has a hidden 1 now. And now I can multiply that 4 in. So now the 4 is going to multiply into all the exponents. And if you wanted to write it out, you've got 4 of those brackets. So that's going to give me 2 to the 4, x to the 4, y 12. Is there anything else I can simplify there? The 2's, right? And 2 exponent 4, is that going to give me an 8? Is 2 exponent 4 going to give me an 8? 16, good. So this is going to become 16 x to the 4, y to the 12, final answer. And this guy was our final answer here. Okay, final answer for B. Okay, C. Here, let's take a look at C. All right, letter C. We have to simplify if we can. There's nothing we can simplify inside those brackets. So that means I'm going to multiply the outside one in. So this guy is multiplying to my 5 and my 3. Is he multiplying to the 16? No, because he's not in brackets. This 3 is multiplying to the 2 and the hidden 1 on that 2 because he's inside brackets. That removes our brackets, folks. So this is going to give me 16 on top, x 6, y 10. On the bottom, 2 exponent 3, x 6. Well, how big is 2 exponent 3? 2 times 2 times 2. It gives us an 8. So if I take 16 and divide by 8, how big do I get? 2. Good. So that's going to give me 2. What happens to my x's? They cancel. 6 subtract 6 is 0. And what's anything exponent 0? 1. So my final answer will be 2y to the 10. Final answer. Next question. There's nothing in brackets we can simplify this time. So we got to put our hidden ones on. And now we're going to multiply the outside exponent in. So that 2 multiplies to the 5 and the a. So I've got 5 squared, a squared, b 12 times 4, a squared, b 1. And now we're timesing. So I have to deal with my digits, my coefficients. 5 squared, and then I got to times it by 4. Well, how big is 5 squared? Is that 10? No, it's 25. And how much is 25 cents and you have 4 of them? It's $1, so that's 100. So I'm going to have 100 in front of how many A's do I have left over? 4 A's. How many B's? Lucky 13. There we go. So that'll be your final answer on that question. Okay. The next ones we're dividing. Dividing means we're going to subtract exponents. So my bracket, negative a is my base. 6 subtract 4 is 2. So negative a exponent 2. Now, that tells me I've got negative a times negative a. That's what that tells me, is I have 2 negative a's. Well, what's a negative times a negative? Positive. So the final answer for this guy is positive a squared. Okay, you can't leave them with that negative sign in front because that negative will square to a positive. Okay, take a look at how this guy is. The difference is where the brackets are. It's a negative base if you have a hidden 1 in brackets. This guy has a hidden 1 in brackets, so he's got a negative base. That means he has 4 negatives. The guy, A6, that's a -1 timesing by the A6. So here, I'm going to subtract those, but you've got to see what's actually going on. So am I going to write these ones out? Nah, it's okay. So I'm going to have a -a to the 6 dividing by, what's a negative? 4 negatives gives me a positive. Positive a to the 4, because I have 4 negatives. 4 negatives go away to a positive. But now I'm dividing a positive and a negative. What's that going to give me? Negative. Subtract my a's, I get 2 left over. On the next one, I'm going to have a -a7. The next one says I have 3 negatives. So that means I've got a negative. And what do we know about a negative dividing a negative? It's a positive. So this guy will be positive a to the 4. Okay, a couple more examples. These ones have multiple things going on. So we've got outside, you have to look inside your brackets first to see if there's anything that can simplify. Inside these ones, there's nothing that can simplify. So we're going to write 3. That guy's got a hidden 3 on him. So I've got -2 cubed A6 B9 timesing by 4 A5 B7. Okay, now I'm going to take my -2 cubed. That's going to give me -8. So these two multiply. -8 times 4 gives me a -32. I've got A's and B's. Now we got to add the A's, add the B's. We'll finish after this example. I add my A's. I'm going to get 6 and 5 make 11. Add my B's. 9 and 7 make 16. Final answer. Okay, we'll do the final couple examples tomorrow morning. I just have to tape these last couple questions.
Alicia's not going to be here today or tomorrow.
Okay, so this last question, we've got 4 negatives, which will give us a positive. So on top, I've got 72 x4 y10 positive z to the 8. On the bottom, this guy's going to multiply into the 2 and the 1s. So I'm going to have 6 times 2 cubed x cubed y6 z8 and a y3. We can add our y's and we can simplify this. So this is going to become 72 x4 y10 z8 all on top of, this makes 8 times 6 is 48. I have 3 x's. My y's, I have 9 of them. And my z's, I have 8 of them. The last thing we do is we are going to divide. And that's going to give us a lowest term fraction. So we're going to math frac that. And that's going to give us 3/2. Okay, so that's a math frac. We end up with 3/2. Now let's count our x's. I subtract and I've got x to the 1 left over. And I've got y to the 1 left over. And my z's disappear. Okay, so that's going to be my final answer. Okay, last 2 questions on the top of the next page. Okay, so when we do these, we are going to be adding exponents and subtracting exponents. So here, I'm going to be subtracting my x's and subtracting my y's. So I'm going to end up with this. B 4x plus y subtracting x subtract 2y. I keep my base b and I'm multiplying a -1 in to my bracket. So I'm going to get 4x plus 1, y, subtract 1, x, plus negative times a negative is positive 2y. So now I'm going to add up my x's and y's. So now I'm going to add my x's and I'm going to add my y's. So my final answer is going to give me, I'm just going to put it over here, I'm going to get b with a 3x and a positive 3y. 3x plus 3y. And that'll be my final answer. We're going to do the same thing with the next section here. So on top, when they're multiplying, that means we're going to add them together. So I'm going to take my A's and I'm going to add them, and I'm going to take my B's and I'm going to add them. So on top, that's going to give me X to the 8 A's plus 8 B's, because I have one of each. And now I'm subtracting what's on the bottom. On the bottom, I've got X to the A1, and A1 and A2 make 3 A's. So I have 3 A's, subtract 7 B's. Now we need to subtract the exponents. So then this becomes X, 8A plus 8B, subtracting the next exponent, 3a subtract 7b. So now this guy is going to multiply into the bracket. So I'm going to end up with 8a plus 8b. Now a negative times a positive is a negative 3a's. Negative times a negative is a positive 7b's. Now I add up my like terms. So I'm going to add my b's together, and I'm going to add my a's together. And that's going to give me my final answer. So I'm going to end up with X to the 5A plus 15B's. And that'll be my final answer. Okay, this is the end of lesson 11. Lesson 9.